sort of what we are seeing in Hitesha's case as well, though I don't know what's the truth of the case. But I very strongly believe that Kamraj is innocent in this case. There must have been a scuffle between them because he was trying to take the food back, which is his duty, and why should he suffer the loss? But I refuse to believe that he punched Hitesha. I refuse to believe that he was the one who actually started abusing her. From looking at both sides of the story, I've heard that interview of both Hitesha and Kamraj like a 20 times. There are so many gaps in Hitesha's story, and Kamraj's story is flawless. You cannot find any gap in that. Whatever he says is looks to be something that happened one after the other. While in Hitesha's story, there are just so many gaps. So I think media also plays a very crucial role. Rather than just blowing a case out of proportion when it is reported, it is much important to report a case when a verdict has been given by the court. If a man has been convicted, please tell people about it. Please tell people about what heinous crime this man committed. But if a man is acquitted and he is honorably discharged from an allegation, please show that as well, right? So there are so many men who are the victims in an abusive marriage and they don't even file for divorce because they know that the repercussions are going to be so bad. So coming back to the same point, we are clamoring for equality day in, day out, but this inequality, nobody takes note of. It is just so unequal, just so unequal. And we want our women to progress. We want our women to prosper. We want our women to be safe. But when women are wrong, we do not want them to hold. We do not want to hold them accountable. That's not equality in my.
Hello and welcome. This is Anukriti Ganesh from The Logical Indian. I am here today with Deepika Narayana Bharadwaj. Deepika is a journalist, documentary filmmaker, and a men's rights activist. Hello, Deepika. Thank you so much for joining us here today. So, my first question is about the recent Zomato incident. So the woman in this case alleged that Zomato delivery guy attacked her, but on the other hand, the delivery guy said that she was the first one to, attack her. So now we don't know who is telling the truth here. But as soon as
Right.
Chandrani's video got viral, social media court immediately, came into action and they declared the delivery guy guilty instantly. So, whenever a woman raises an issue, the guy always ends up being guilty. Could you please elaborate on that? Why is that?
Anukriti, it's not just the Zomato case. We have seen numerous instances now, and thanks to social media, that at least we have an opportunity to actually look at the other side. But whether it was Sarjeet Singh case, whether it was Rohtak sisters and the boys who were accused in that case, there have been numerous instances where women have taken you know, social media as a platform to basically accuse somebody of a certain crime. And the immediate reaction, unfortunately, of people in all these cases has been to basically declare the man guilty. Now, of course, we have an issue where crimes against women happen on a daily basis, and we see that as a major concern plaguing Indian society, which is it's a fact, and there is no denial of it. But at the same time, when an accusation is made, whether that's made by anybody against anybody, when we see cases where a woman is making an allegation against a man, we immediately declare the person guilty without even listening to the other side of the story. Uh, I see the reason of that as the consequence of so many crimes happening against women. But at the same time, I think it is absolutely unfair to not even give a chance to the other person to present their side of the story. Um, on a daily basis, I share so many cases where it's the man who has been on the receiving side, but such cases do not get as much focus or as much discussion as cases like Hitesha's get. And thankfully, there were platforms who actually reached out to Kamaraj and heard his side of the story. But in majority of the cases, such stories do not come out, or the other side does not really come out. So I think the onus is on us as a society to basically look at both sides of the story before declaring somebody guilty, because the repercussions are extremely serious. Extremely serious. People lose their job, people lose their social status, people lose their reputation, and the consequences are really, really bad. So I think the onus is on us as a society to basically wait until, till we actually pass a verdict, because this is not just a social media fad. This is about lives of people, and it really has extreme repercussions. So I think uh, we really need to be cautious, and we really need to actually wait until the a whole truth is in front of us before declaring somebody guilty. So I think that's what I think. So yeah.
Moreover, social media justice, this is a new term that has come up in past couple of months. The social media justice is harmful despite gender. So Chandrani also had to leave her house and she was getting threats. So do you think social media trials harm both the genders equally? Don't you think that?
Well, absolutely. There is no denial that immediately passing verdicts on social media pertaining to any case is dangerous. It has real repercussions, like I said, and we need to be cautious. But at the same time, we have to admit the fact that there are innumerable cases where social media has played a crucial role in getting justice as well. So we can't completely do away with a practice like that. Uh, During Me Too, if I go back to that time, social media trial was actually happening in almost all the cases. Just on the basis of allegations, we had people facing extreme repercussions because of these allegations. And there are people who are taking to social media to actually get justice, or get a fair hearing, or get certain any sort of issue resolved. But uh, we have to understand that when it comes to a criminal, when it comes to a crime, when it comes to an accusation which is criminal in nature, there are always two sides of the story. And if we consider the justice system, it definitely reads and understands and looks at both sides before passing a verdict. So we cannot completely do away with social media, and because it is definitely important, and it definitely has given justice to a lot of people. But I think, to repeat myself, the onus is on us to basically not pass verdict immediately as we hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, now this question might be controversial here, but now whenever someone is favored, it's only human that some people, might end up taking advantage of that power or favor that they have been given. So women have always been they have been oppressed for a very long time, and it's great that now we have the opportunity and these laws to help us. But on the flip side, these laws are being misused. Okay, so how often do you think this happens? And how many cases do you see on, like every month or every year? How many cases do you come across? And whenever it's proven in the court that woman was lying, what happens then?
Well, Anu, uh, sadly, while the reality of today's time is that there are a lot of crimes that happen against women, uh, the reality also is that there is an extreme abuse of laws by women. And this is not something that I am saying. This is something that even our courts admit. There are false cases thrown out of the courts every single day. I get these cases on a daily basis, and in numerous cases on a daily basis, where we are seeing that the law has been abused by a woman. She has taken advantage of the provisions that have been made to protect her.
Mhm.
So the the uh, the most pressing issue for me personally, if I sort of put it in a nutshell, is there are no real repercussions for women who take advantage of these provisions, who misuse these provisions. Just to give you an example, there was a case a few months back where Delhi High Court let a woman just go scot free by just giving an apology. She had filed a false rape case, and the man was jailed for a couple of months in that case. And this woman then comes around and says that, I filed a false case, and please do not punish me because it will really impact my marital life, and it will impact my, and I'm apologizing that I did this. And the Delhi High Court accepted her apology. I see cases on a daily basis where the woman has lied about molestation, woman has lied about uh, dowry, the woman has lied about domestic violence, the woman has lied about rape, and we don't see courts punishing these women. Now, when we are, as a society, aiming at uh, giving opportunities to women as well, and trying to make the society as equal as possible, then somewhere we will have to reflect that when we are aiming for that equality, should we still consider women as the weak gender and then let them go if they do something wrong? We really need to reflect at that when we look up to the Western societies in terms of safety, in terms of security, in terms of the freedom that it gives to women and the opportunity that it gives to women. We also need to actually look at when women do wrong in those societies, they are punished. They have gender neutral laws, treating everybody as equal. Their domestic violence laws are equal, their rape laws are equal, their stalking laws are equal, their sexual and any crime related to domestic violence, or gender based crimes, basically they have neutral provisions. And they have thousands and thousands of women who are booked under these charges, who are convicted under these charges. So I fail to understand that when we are aiming towards equality, why we should just let women who abuse these provisions or who commit crimes like domestic violence, like stalking, like rape, why should we let them go? Just yesterday, I had shared a case where a teacher in Jalandhar basically fooled parents of a 13-year-old boy, saying she's going to teach him and everything. She was a manglik, and in order to avert that omen, and thinking that this is her manglik nature is coming in the way of she getting married, she kept this boy for 6 days in her house, performed marriage with him, and then had a first night, and then became widow, sort of getting done with one marriage so that she can get married again and stuff like that. 13-year-old boy, and the police did not even register an FIR. Imagine if a man would have done this to a 13-year-old girl, how much of seriousness there would be to an incident like that, how much of discussion there would be to an incident like that. And here we are, where uh, uh, parents of this boy want to file a case, but then they are being threatened and they are being told to just strike a compromise with this woman. This is an adult woman who has done this, and no actions. Just now I've shared a video where a woman is slapping a police officer, you know right in front of everybody, and I don't know if there has been any action taken against her or not. We see such instances day in, day out. In Rohtak sisters case, the court said the girls have also undergone so much of harassment because of social media, so she's not inclined to take any action against her. That is unfair. That is just so wrong. That is just so unacceptable. And while we are actually trying to make the society equal and justice be available for everybody, we are just doing away with any sort of punishment or any sort of repercussions if a woman does that crime, which is so wrong. And that's why I personally see now, you were saying that Hidesha also had to leave her house, and she had to go. Why, if you go back to why are people getting so agitated, why are people feeling so uh, restless? They are feeling so because everybody is saying that when a woman does wrong, she goes scot free. So that sense, that feeling is deepening in the society, if I may say. I see on social media, whenever a case where the woman has been on the wrong side is shared in an article or something, I see the comments by people. Whether they know me or don't know me, whether they know anything about men's rights or not, there is a a confession by almost everybody that women are misusing their rights and they're going scot free, because people are seeing this happening day in day out, and they don't see you know justice being so swift when a woman is on the wrong as much as they see when a man being punished if he would have done something wrong with the woman. So uh, this is happening, and I think we need to really talk about it.
And not many people talk about it. That is the issue. Why do you think that is? Like women do, like we don't usually say that out loud, even if we are thinking on some level, people don't say it out loud. Why is that?
uh, well, I think the main reason for that is the the sort of a soft corner that we naturally have for women, and the I think the wrongs that happen on women any day are much more than these instances. So people let it go, people let it pass by, but and there's also even if you talk about it, what does it really lead to? Nothing. I have been talking about men's rights, and I've been talking about false cases, and I've been talking about women doing so much wrong to men for the past 9 years. And though the society has started talking much more than ever before, but they don't see the lawmakers doing anything about it. uh, uh, they see judges, they see courts still being very biased towards women because of this so holier than thou status that we have given to women. So people think that what is even the point of talking about it? But let me say that there has been much more awareness, much more conversation, much more discussion on these issues than ever before. Thanks to social media as well, that people can put out their sides of the story. People can actually dig into cases, look into cases that are happening in the courts, and people are definitely talking about it. It's a slow process. A lot of times when people who are in the men's rights space, when they say nothing is going to happen, the judiciary is so biased, the police is so biased, I do tell them that changes do not happen overnight. Women also had to fight for a very long time to get the rights that they have got. It's not that they were just given the rights that they have. They had to fight a long battle to actually get what they have today. So I think the flip side also, as it is happening, will take some time to be recognized, to be corrected. And I think it's a wait. So, yeah.
Now, you were talking about false accusations and allegation by women, and it
Yeah.
has ruined and harmed someone's life. One such example is Vishnu Tiwary. He was in jail for 22 years. He was accused of rape, and later he was acquitted, saying that it was a false allegation. So now I'm sure he's not the only one, he's not alone. So, what are the legal remedies for these men who were wrongly accused for a crime? And how can court ensure justice for these accused?
So, Anukriti, there has been a Law Commission's report, which is 277th report of the Law Commission, where they have, uh, uh, you know, gone into the depth of wrongful prosecution and how the system, the lawmakers need to really take a note of it and have some guidelines or have some provisions there to compensate such people. Now, let me tell you what happens in reality. There we have, the law of torts for damages. We have some certain provisions in the Indian Penal Code where person who falsely accused can be, tried by the system.
Mhm.
But when it comes to women falsely accusing men, the police and the judiciary as well, just yesterday somebody shared an order with me where this person had moved against his wife in under 340 CRPC, filing a perjury case on her that she claimed so many false things in her application, and the case has been now dismissed, or he has been acquitted, and so he wanted to move against her for uh, telling all of these lies. Now the court says that Okay, she implicated, 3 and 4 family members. She must have felt wronged by them, even if there's no crime and you have been acquitted. She felt wronged, so it's okay. So eventually, the crux of the matter is that they said that she will not be, they are not inclined towards trying her for perjury, because just because the person has been acquitted doesn't mean that nothing wrong happened. And this is the problem here. When our courts decide a certain case, even if uh, there are ample evidences that point towards the innocence of the accused, even if the woman has lied, stated white lies in her complaint, the final verdict that comes usually is an acquittal of the accused. And a lot of people think that, and it is definitely a fact as well, that an acquittal can does not necessarily mean that it was a false case, because acquittal can also happens for lack of evidences a lot of time. But in my personal experience, I have seen several cases where the statements that were told by the woman were white lies, and they were disproven on the basis of technological evidences like call records, like messages, like her location. In fact, I'm making a documentary right now which is called India's Sons, which is on false rape cases. One of the cases that we are showing in that is the it's a case that became really, really well known across the country, which was the Rohtak double gang rape case, where 5 men were stated to have raped a girl earlier. And then when they got out on bail, they raped the same woman again. That case was a lie for the first time. That case was a lie for the second time. Okay. These two of these 5 accused spent 2 years behind bars, and later, when the charge was leveled for the second time, there were about 3 boys, or I guess 4 boys, who spent 3 months in jail. And this, when each one of them, Anu, each one of them had CCTV footages on that day at that time, where they were in absolutely different cities. Somebody went to a bank, somebody went to a college, somebody was on his sales job, and they gave each and every evidence to the cops. And they were not being arrested earlier because the cops realized it was a false case. But then, it went to media. There's a media trial that started. And under the pressure of media, the police actually went and arrested them. The charges were so false that on the day that this woman is saying that she was raped at a certain place in a certain city, she herself was in a different city. Okay. And her phone call records, her conversations, everything proved it on record, right? Nothing happens to her. Nothing happened to her at all. These boys have been acquitted. Of course, the second case got completely dismissed because it was blatantly false. In the first case, also, they were acquitted by the court, and because the case was absolute lie. Uh, but nothing happens to the woman. And by the time these people actually get acquitted, now, for example, Vishnu Tiwary, he is a victim of judicial system. He was convicted on a false charge. It took him 16 years. It took his appeal to be heard for 16 years. There is no accountability. There is absolutely no accountability, either on the judges or on the investigation officers or on the police that investigated that crime. There is no accountability until and unless we hold judges accountable and the police accountable for these wrongful prosecutions. I don't think anything can happen. And most of these victims do not claim for damages, do not go back to the court, because they have suffered the judicial system for years and years. They don't have the energy to go back to the same system, because they know that they will just be, wasting another more years of their life rather than getting something. There's a case, Bijinder Singh versus State of Haryana. That man went for damages. His case was blatantly false. He spent 8 months in jail on that false rape charge, and he was honorably acquitted by the court. And then he claimed damages. And he didn't claim damages. Actually, it's a judge, while granting him an acquittal, who said that the police has blatantly misused its powers in this case, and hence this person should be given 5 lakh rupees in compensation. the state actually went to the court, or the police went to the court saying, it's not our problem, it's not our mistake, and we can give him 1,000 rupees, we cannot give him 5 lakh compensation. And because they will eventually would have to, because the judge ordered it, they appealed against his acquittal itself, saying, we will go for retrial of the case in the high court. So there are such gory cases, such heart-wrenching cases of injustice to men, that it baffles me that why our judiciary or our lawmakers do not do anything about it. But I think it's cases like, I think Zomato, that opens eyes of people that, just believing one side of the story is dangerous, can be dangerous. And there is a lot more activism now. Kapil Mishra, who's from BJP, has gone to the Supreme Court asking for compensation for Vishnu Tiwary. And there's another case where in Mumbai High Court, where again a man who spent 7 years in jail on a false rape charge is claiming for compensation. I think more and more people go to the court and ask for justice. I think there will be some change. But as of now, the mechanisms, the system are not really in place to actually compensate people like Vishnu Tiwari.
In Vishnu Tiwari's case, I want to go back to that. What happened to the woman who accused Vishnu Tiwari? Because he was in jail for 22 years. I mean,
Right.
this was
I
wrong.
have uh, I have dug a little into the case, and the woman apparently died because of some medical ailment. So she's not alive anymore.
Mhm.
And as much as I know, I have come to the sort of understanding the case. It's the woman's husband and her father-in-law, basically, who trapped Vishnu Tiwari in this case because they had some land dispute. So, as of now, I don't know if the government is doing anything to trace the people who filed a case against them. As much as I have come to know of, I don't think those people are staying in the same village anymore. Or even if they are, there is nothing that the system has done against the people who trapped him. And um, say fights happen and disputes happen. It's between two people, right? It could be between a man and a man, it could be between a woman and a woman, it could be between a woman and a man. We live in a society, there are so many things that go wrong, and people do fight. And people do falsely accuse as well. I
Mhm.
think the onus lies more on the police and the courts. They are there to find the truth. They
Mhm.
are there to give justice to people. So while these people are absolutely horrendous and wrong for filing these false cases, I think there is more responsibility on the police and the courts. And even if they sort of end up, doing something like what happened with Vishnu Tiwari, they need to actually hold themselves accountable for destroying a life. That accountability is not there, and that's basically the problem. Why are people filing so many false cases? Why are women misusing laws? Because they know that they can get away with it. And as long as the system allows people getting away with doing something like this, people will obviously misuse the system. You know, people, why wouldn't they? They are getting incentives. I remember, um, and I think another thing that I miss out is media. There are, when these false cases get exposed, when the Rohtak double gang rape acquittal happened,
Mhm.
when these boys eventually were freed, nobody covered that story,
Yes, I have noticed
right?
that a lot of times. Yes.
I'm sure nobody covered that story. One of the boy, through you, I'm telling this to people. One of the boy refused to give me an interview. And these are his exact words. He said, I am thankful that I'm being alive. I'm alive. Okay. I don't want to do anything more than this. I think I personally have shared at least 6 cases of suicide by men who were tortured by their wives. Just yesterday, there's a man in, I think, Tamil Nadu, who has ended his life because his wife had an affair, and she became pregnant through her lover, and then told this man that this is not your baby, this is my lover's baby, and you're such a loser, you need to just go and hang yourself. And that man died. Nobody is telling his story. Nobody. What is the difference between Aisha's story and this man's story? I don't find too much of a difference in that. They both were equally mentally tortured, I guess, and that's why they chose to end their life. But I'm not even sure if this woman will ever be arrested, this wife of this man. And having said that, there are just so many cases. Sandeep Nahar case. He was a known face. His wife has not been arrested till date. He left a 10-minute suicide video. What's the difference between his case and Aisha's case? I don't see any difference.
Around
But
domestic,
nothing happened to his wife.
like I want to talk about domestic violence as well. So whenever we talk about domestic violence or sexual assault, we immediately kind of assume that the victim is women and the accused is, men. So how do we ensure the conversation around domestic violence without making gender be a driving factor in the case?
Uh, Conversations are happening. It's not that conversations are not happening. There are people talking about it. There are people who react to things that I share, and there are people who react to things that whatever as much come in media when the man is a victim. The problem here is laws, Ankriti. The problem here is that our lawmakers are not taking note of this, and they don't seem to be interested in doing anything about this.
About domestic violence as well. So whenever we talk about domestic violence or sexual assault, we immediately kind of assume that the victim is women and the accused is, men. So how do we ensure the conversation around domestic violence without making gender be a driving factor in the case?
Uh, Conversations are happening. It's not that conversations are not happening. There are people talking about it. There are people who react to things that I share, and there are people who react to things that whatever as much come in media when the man is a victim. The problem here is laws, Ankriti. The problem here is that our lawmakers are not taking note of this, and they don't seem to be interested in doing anything about this. When Justice Verma committee, sat to sort of relook into the rape laws, there was a discussion whether rape laws should be actually gender neutral, and um, the women's right activists actually, raised a huge objection to making the law gender neutral because they said you can make the law gender neutral from a victim's perspective, but you cannot make the law gender neutral from a perpetrator's perspective, because they think that women can never, uh, violate consent of a man. And then the argument by them was that, men will misuse the law against women. Well, then why are you silent about when women are misusing the laws against men? So, uh, when you think misuse of laws is no argument to not bring a law, this is a very common argument or common saying by feminists when discussion around marital rape happens. They say misuse of law is no ground to not bring a law. Then why did you not allow the law to become gender neutral when rape laws were becoming gender neutral? Because you said men are going to misuse it. So this is kind of hypocrisy that exists out there. So conversations are there, but action is not there by the lawmakers. And unfortunately, even the Supreme Court, when it was petitioned to make laws gender neutral, they accepted that men are suffering and then there are wrongs that are happening to men. But they said, we don't think it is the right time to actually change laws. I can go on and on and on and on and on and on, telling you various cases that happen on a daily basis, uh, and uh, it's very sad. I remember sharing case where a man was bleeding through his head. His wife had beaten him up so badly with a baleen, and he was bleeding all over, and he was friend of a friend, so this friend approached me and he sent me all the pictures, and kept on tagging Faridabad police. I kept on tagging Faridabad police. They didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. And eventually, when the story got really widely shared, they called me up and they said, "Ma'am, wife बोल रही है कि ये भी उसको मारता है." तो मैंने कहा, अभी किसने मारा है किसको? ठीक है, आप ये देखो, उसको कोई इंजरी आई है क्या? अभी इस पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन में अगर ये बंदा उसको मारता और उसके सिर से खून निकल रहा होता और उस बंदी ने अपनी फोटो डाली होती और फरीदाबाद पुलिस को टैग किया होता, तो आप क्या करते? क्या आप ये पूछते कि भैया उसने भी मारा है कि नहीं, तुम भी उसको मारती थी कि नहीं? नहीं करते ना। आप उस बंदे को इमीडिएटली जाके जेल में डाल देते। अभी ये बंदा आपके पास आके बोल रहा है कि उसकी वाइफ ने उसको इतनी बुरी तरह से पीटा है, ठीक है, उसके पास कॉन्वर्जेशंस भी हैं, उसके पास एविडेंसेस भी हैं, और पहले भी वो उसको बहुत बार पीटती है, तो आप कोई एक्शन क्यों नहीं? मैम, हमने तो दोनों के खिलाफ केस डाल दिया कोर्ट में, अब कोर्ट देखेगी। This is the
Everywhere.
normal attitude of police officers. And in the case that you're telling, the lawyers don't know what to do, Anukriti. Like, while there is a 498A, which criminalizes physical or mental cruelty done by a husband or his relatives against a wife, there is no 498A for a man. While a woman can file a domestic violence case against her husband if he beats her up, and actually take protection orders where the man can be thrown out of the house and she can live in the house, there is no such provision for a man. The law itself is called Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, right? And she can file a 406, she can file unnatural sex, she can file dowry, she can file domestic violence. There are just so many provisions that are there for women. But what does a man have? He can only file for a divorce, okay? And on grounds of cruelty or adultery, and there are a couple of other sections under which a divorce can be sought either from by a man or a woman. But the moment the man, the sadness of the situation is that it just doesn't end at absence of laws for men. Even when they use the provisions that exist, for example, if this man, the Faridabad case, if he would have filed, the police would have registered an assault case. Let's assume if the police would have registered an assault case against the wife, what would have the wife done next? Filed a 498, a domestic violence, maintenance, alimony, and several other cases on this man. And I see this happening day in day out, where it's the man who is the victim in that marriage, in an abusive marriage, and he just merely exercises his option of choosing to divorce that woman. And then what that woman does, accuses him of dowry, domestic violence, and puts in blatant lies in the complaint, and those lies are taken. Forget about a common man. There's a politician. His name is Anubhav Mohanty. He was in a marriage where he did not have his marriage was not consummated for 6 years. All right. And he filed for divorce. He's a member of parliament from BJD. And that case came all over in media. Now his wife filed a 498 case on him, a domestic violence case on him, all of this after he sought divorce. In fact, it's been quite a long interview, so I am not going to say anything
I
more. The only thing that I want to tell people is, especially the men out there are several men's rights organizations today. There was no help or recourse available earlier, but there is help and recourse available today. Some of the prominent men's rights organizations are Save Indian Families, Sahodar Trust, Save Indian Family Foundation. Please look up their helpline numbers online. You can reach out to me as well in case you are facing something of the sort that we discussed today and seek guidance or help. Of course, you have to fight your cases in the court, but there are uh, there are so many people who can guide you on how to fight back if you want to fight back. So you're not alone. Please never think of ending life if you're going through a trouble like this. It does not solve any purpose. It just leaves your family feeling abandoned and feeling completely distraught that they could not do anything to stop you from doing what you did. So never ever think of giving up on life. Please call up these helplines, take guidance, take help, take support. And just yesterday, in fact, a man who was suicidal in December and he had almost hanged himself, wrote a message to me saying, a thank you message saying, I spoke in front of the judge about my truth, and I know this will take time, but I will fight it out. So, uh, everybody can fight these cases. It takes time. There is no doubt that the justice system is extremely skewed and one-sided, and it takes long for these cases to get over. But don't give up. Don't give up. That doesn't solve any problem. And the worst thing is that even if you end life, there are very high chances that nothing will happen to the woman because of whom you are giving up your life. So please don't do it. Reach out to people for support and help. And last but not the least, please do watch my documentary Martyrs of Marriage. It's available on YouTube. And my next documentary, which is coming out very soon, is called India's Sons. Its trailer is available on YouTube. Watch that as well.
All right.
And if you wish to contribute to my work, please do.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
my crowdfunding is available on Milap or for India's Sons, so you can contribute to that.
Thank you so much, Deepika, for this great
My
conversation.
pleasure.